Here are today's top stories. President Duterte aims to advance the country's interests as he attends the BOA Forum for Asia and China. More officials from the Aquino administration are expected to be charged in the Dengvaxia controversy. Local officials seek investors in the Middle East to do business in Mindanao. And Vietnam turns over 8,000 bags of rice to displaced residents of Marawi City. Good day, I'm Pia Rosas Morato. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte is currently in China to attend the BOA Forum for Asia. The president and his entourage arrived at the Shanghai Bao Airport aboard a chartered Philippine Airlines flight Monday afternoon. He was welcomed by Philippine Ambassador to China, Jose Santiago Santaromana, Chinese Ambassador to the Philippines, Zhao Jinghua, and BOA local officials. He also met with former President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, who is attending the BFA at the invitation of the BOA Secretariat. The BOA Forum for Asia is a non-profit organization hosting high-level fora for government heads and officials, business leaders, and academic experts to address major challenges confronting the region and the world. President Duterte said that he will advance the country's interest in trade expansion and investments promotions during the forum. He is also looking forward to the bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, where they will discuss the full range of Philippines-China relations. Public Attorney's Office Chief Persida Acosta said more officials from the previous administration are set to face criminal charges in connection with the Dengvaxia controversy. The PAO filed for separate complaints for reckless imprudence resulting in homicide and violation of the Anti-Torture Act against former Health Secretary Janet Green and 34 others. Vaccine manufacturer Sanofi Pasteur and distributor Zuellig Pharma Corporation were also included as respondents. PAO will file a supplemental complaint before the DOJ based on the report that the Senate will release on the Dengvaxia issue. Acosta also said the National Bureau of Investigation is conducting its own investigation into the 3.5 billion peso procurement of Dengvaxia. The NBI is looking into the possible liability of former President Noynoy Aquino and former Budget Secretary Florencio Abad. The Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption and Vanguard of the Philippine Constitution earlier filed criminal charges against Aquino and 19 others over the Dengvaxia controversy last February. House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez vowed to speed up the impeachment of Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno. Alvarez said lawmakers will fast-track Sereno's impeachment once Congress resumes sessions in May. President Rodrigo Duterte made the order in a press interview shortly before departing for China to attend the BOA Forum of Asia. Duterte said he had made it clear that he had nothing to do with Sereno's ouster, saying it has never been his character to get back at enemies. The chief executive's remarks came after Sereno asked the president to publicly explain why it was Solicitor General Jose Calida who filed the quo warranto petition. Sereno insinuated that the president is involved with her impeachment, saying it is clear that her impeachment and the filing of the quo warranto petition had the president's go signal. President Rodrigo Duterte warned to put Boracay under the land reform program and give it back to poor farmers. The president reminded critics that the island is agricultural and forestal land owned by the government. The president emphasized his order to clean the island and announced he will be issuing an order proclaiming Boracay under a state of calamity. Duterte reiterated his commitment to giving financial aid and making available some 2 billion pesos for assistance, but only to the poor residents who will be affected by the closure. His warning comes after accusations that Boracay's 6-month closure was to pave the way for the construction of a casino, which the president denies. Still to come, local officials seek investors in the Middle East to do business in Mindanao. The military says the new People's Army in Caraga region are facing problems over the surrender of their comrades. These and more when the PNA Newsroom continues.
This is Secretary Martin Andanar, and you're watching.
Simula ang pag-unlad ng higit na nakararami sa ating mga karagatan, kagubatan at taniman. Kung lahat ay magkaisang magsisikap sa gawaing marangal, malayo sa katiwalian, iniiwas sa bawal at ipinagbabawal na droga, binabati ko po kayong lahat, kasama na rin ang buong bansa sa huwarang ipinakita nyo sa araw na ito. And as the saying goes, may your tribe increase. Congratulations and mabuhay ang lala.
The Mindanao Development Authority is considering investors from the Middle East countries for the development of Mindanao. MINDA Chair Secretary Dato Abul Khair Alonto said he will be meeting with some investors from the Middle East who are interested in pouring capital to the region. In this meeting, Alonto said he would request investors not to just participate as buyers of the products of Mindanao, but also its development by putting up their industries there. Alonto said he will give priority to the agricultural sector since Mindanao is known to be the fruit basket of the country. He is banking on the Tawi-Tawi Economic Freeport Zone, which will host many facilities including a shipyard, airport, and seaport. The Tawi-Tawi Economic Zone is included among the major projects under the Mindanao Development Corridor Strategy, which is designed to improve infrastructure, enhance linkages between growing and lagging regions, and ensure balanced growth. The National Economic and Development Authority approved San Miguel Corporation's unsolicited proposal to build an international airport in Bulacan. The proposed project is set to be constructed in the coastal area of Bulacan town and may be completed before the president's term ends in 2022. Representative Jonathan Alvarado said officials have long been anticipating the approval of the airport, which is expected to bring countryside development. The airport will be occupying more than 1,000 hectares of land, and a city complex will be built on around 2,000 hectares. Giginto Mayor Ambrosio Cruz, president of the League of Municipalities Bulacan, said the province must come up with holistic plans to make the airport more accessible and attract more investors. Under the proposal, the project proponent has included a road plan that will link the airport through Marilao town to the North Luzon Expressway. A notorious drug pusher was killed in a shootout during a drug buy-bust operation in Green Valley, Bacoor City, Cavite. The suspect, identified as Ronel Montebon, was the subject of a buy-bust operation by joint police and PDEA operatives. The suspect was about to sell shabu to undercover agents but tried to escape when he realized he was dealing with law enforcers. Montebon tried to shoot and lob a grenade on pursuing policemen, but the pursuing officer was able to subdue him. Recovered from the scene were a handgun, a hand grenade, and a black coin purse with 12 sachets of shabu. More town mayors in Maguindanao are turning over loose firearms collected from residents. Mayor Genuine Camaong of Datu Piang Town, one of the most conflict-affected areas in the province, turned over 16 assorted firearms. These comprised of 4 locally made sniper rifles, 4 pistols, 1 M14 rifle, 2 M16 rifles, 3 homemade grenade launchers, a shotgun, and 2 vintage World War II rifles. Major General Arnel de la Vega, Army 6th Infantry Division Commander, thanked Datu Piang officials for extending their support to the AFP in its campaign against loose firearms. A total of 338 firearms were surrendered in Maguindanao since January this year. More guns are expected to be turned over by the local officials since they are well informed of Martial Law Order No. 1 for them to help in the disarmament drive. The New People's Army in Caraga region had been observed to be under tremendous pressure as mass surrenderers continue. The military recovered documents outlining one of the rebels' utmost concerns, along with the issue on addressing their comrades who had already turned themselves into authorities. This was brought about by the intensified security operations together with the Army's Community Support Program. Meanwhile, Colonel Andres Centino, commander of the 401st Infantry Brigade, noted that there was no such thing as NPA recruitment in his area of responsibility in Agusan del Sur and parts of Surigao del Sur. Instead, personnel of community support teams deployed in the hinterland villages had noticed a possibility of more surrenderers. The brigade commander said this was caused by the great deal of dismay felt among rebel fighters due to factors such as lack of support and the mounting number of casualties. Up next, Malacanang urges local governments in Eastern Visayas to submit a list of alternative tourist destinations. Vietnam turns over 8,000 bags of rice to displaced residents of Marawi City. These and more when the PNA Newsroom returns.
What is nation branding? It is about managing a country's image, usually portraying it in a positive light. It is a unified framework that will help us grow in terms of exports, foreign direct investments, and tourism receipts, a tool for better trade and political relations.
The campaign to establish a national branding for the Philippines was approved no less by the President Rodrigo Duterte during the 23rd Cabinet meeting. Together with the executive branches, other departments, and agencies, we will work together a cohesive and effective branding that will herald to the world that the Philippines' time is now.
It's about time that the Philippines is perceived to be rising. So we want a very genuine and truthful brand. Encompassing siya eh. It's the Philippine brand and it is driven by the character of the nation.
Malacanang asked the local governments in Eastern Visayas to submit a list of alternative tourist destinations in light of the impending closure of Boracay. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said this is to ensure that airlines diverting flights to Calibo and Caticlan would consider these areas when they plot their new routes. Roque, however, admitted that he has not heard any places from Leyte and Samar considered as alternative destinations. Roque also asked Leyte Governor Leopoldo Petilla to inform the interagency task force on making Eastern Visayas as an alternative to Boracay. The palace spokesperson likewise underscored that the closure of Boracay is not a violation of the right to travel, adding that the government has police powers to protect the environment. President Duterte directed a 6-month shutdown of Boracay starting April 26 to make way for its rehabilitation. Negros Occidental remains the most popular tourism location in Western Visayas following Aklan province, which includes the island of Boracay. Data from the Department of Tourism show that Negros Occidental and Bacolod City have combined tourist arrivals of 1.72 million last year. Aklan had 2.2 million visitors in 2017. DOT Western Visayas Regional Director Helen Catalbas said the region hit 5.85 million in domestic, foreign, and overseas Filipino worker arrivals in 2017. During the period, Region 6 generated about 128 billion pesos in tourism receipts. Christine Mancinares, Provincial Supervising Tourism Operations Officer, meanwhile said the increase in tourist arrivals may also be due to its hosting of meetings, incentives, conventions, and exhibitions in the past year. In July 2017, Negros Occidental was also identified as the second most visited place in the country by Filipino travelers, next only to the National Capital Region based on the results of the 2016 Household Survey on Domestic Visitors. The Gilas Cadets will take part in the Philoil Flying V Preseason Premier Cup that will kick off on April 21. The team, to be known as the Gilas U23, will debut right on opening night, taking on Ateneo in the main game of the Day 1 triple header. Before that match, Ateneo High School and LaSalle Green Hills will collide in a battle of champions in the lone juniors match, while LaSalle and University of the Philippines will lock horns in the other seniors game. Participating high school and college teams will engage in a single round robin elimination phase with the top 4 teams in their groups facing off in the crossover quarterfinals. The survivors will then clash in the knockout semifinals, with the winners gunning for the title in the one-game final. Relief aid continues to pour into war-torn Marawi City as Vietnam donates 8,000 bags of rice for its displaced residents. Here's our report.
The Vietnamese government turned over 8,000 bags of rice at 25 kilos per bag as aid to internally displaced persons of Marawi Siege in a ceremonial turnover held at a warehouse of the Department of Social Welfare and Development in Iligan City. The donation was handed over by Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam to the Philippines, Lee Koc Tuan, to DSWD Undersecretary for Legislative Liaison Affairs and Special Presidential Directives in the Mindanao Region, Luz Viminda Ilagan, and Southeast Asia Division 1, Marford Angeles of the Office of the Asian Pacific Affairs, Department of Foreign Affairs. A pledge was made by Vietnamese President Tran Dai Quang during his bilateral talk with President Rodrigo Duterte at the sidelines of the 25th Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in Da Nang, Vietnam last November 2017. Ambassador Lee Koc Tuan said, "This is a gift from the bottom of their hearts to the people in need. A friend in need is a friend indeed. This is an indication of the goodwill to the people, and it is their support to the rehabilitation and reconstruction efforts undertaken by the Philippine government." He also said that it is also a way of sharing the hardships of the people in the country. For her part, Yusek Ilagan recognizes the support of the government of Vietnam for the families affected by the Marawi conflict. "We appreciate your trust and confidence in us to manage the distribution process of the donation in collaboration with the local government unit of Marawi. Rest assured this will go a long way in the provision of needed relief for internally displaced residents of Marawi City, Yusek Ilagan said. According to her, the donated rice will be turned over to the LGU of Marawi, which in turn will distribute the rice to returning IDPs in their city ravaged by the 5-month battle between Islamic State-inspired terrorists and the military. She said that the Lanao provinces require massive rehabilitation work and the support of partners are needed to achieve full recovery. Extending gratitude to Vietnamese government, Southeast Asia Division 1 Director Marford Angeles of the Office of the Asian says, even before the liberation of Marawi, the government has already received aid from neighbors and international partners for rehabilitation, reconstruction, and recovery of conflict-torn Marawi City. He cited that partnership with Vietnam has been forged for 41 years. Director Angeles also noted that after the liberation of Marawi, much progress has been achieved in providing livelihood assistance, training, technical assistance, emergency package, among others, for rehabilitation and recovery of the affected communities with the aid and donations from international and local partners. For PNA Newsroom, Sweet Lukman, Philippine Information Agency.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's stories. President Duterte aims to advance the country's interests as he attends the Bao Forum for Asia in China. More officials from the Aquino administration are expected to be charged in the Dengvaxia controversy. Local officials seek investors in the Middle East to do business in Mindanao. And Vietnam turns over 8,000 bags of rice to displaced residents of Marawi City. Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of news and information from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Pia Rosas Morato. Good day.